to listen to the Lapped Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 185 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. It was absolutely picture-perfect weather up here in Metro Detroit this weekend. Wrapped up some projects around the house, which felt good. Sunday had the backyard set up perfectly. The sun was out. Ribs were on the smoker. TV was outside and had a few drinks flowing. Could not have asked for a better Sunday afternoon. So, yeah, there's that. The weather's nice and hot now. Things have finally broke. It's June. I think Brian Newdorf will be happy that I'll finally shut the hell up about the Michigan weather for a minute anyways, at least. Man, so much to do tonight, Lap Traffic Nation. I got to be honest, selfishly, I was so excited during the rain delay on Thursday, and that's because of the replay of 100,000 cameras, primetime national TV. Twitter notifications blew up. You guys were awesome. Man, it was humbling again to see the little 15-second clip at best that was played. But, man, just so awesome to be a part of that. The response from you guys was overwhelming. So to that, I pick up my glass and I say thank you, Lap Traffic Nation. And speaking of things of 100,000 in nature, this week, the Lap Traffic Podcast is going to break 100,000 downloads. So on 100,000 cameras last week, this week over 100,000 downloads will happen with the Lap Traffic Podcast, which I will also pick up my glass and say thank you to the Lap Traffic Nation. From what I've been told, to hit 100,000 downloads from an amateur podcast perspective is a pretty cool thing. But that wouldn't happen without you guys. So thank you for listening. Thank you for getting the show out there. Thank you for the support. Y'all rock, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. That said, I hope you also enjoyed last week's show with Thad Moffitt. Great guy to talk to. Just the family history there and his current racing and all that good stuff there. Make sure you check that out if you haven't already. I'll be honest. I thought about doing two shows this week because we all know how much, like with Jeff Striegel, when you have the orange cone on, we're going to cover a lot of stuff. The show's going to tend to run a little long. So I also wanted to do something a little different because this is supposed to be MIS week. There should be a bonus show this week from the MIS Media Center. That obviously isn't going to happen. Fingers crossed for August. That said, I wanted tonight to be somewhat MIS themed. You all know the cone has crashed many of bonus show at the MIS. He's got huge ties to the track as well. And also, a little different. Michael Palmer will be on the show tonight. If you follow Lap Traffic, odds are you know who he is because you probably follow him too. He was also on during the start of the pandemic during the listener call-in shows. He's had a hell of a 60 days. I am excited to catch up with him. He too is from Michigan. So a little unique Michigan show in honor of what would be MIS week. That's set to help things along. Just prepare for a long show. You probably saw it now that it's been pulled up on your phone or wherever you listen. Put it on 1.5 times. It's not going to be boring. It's going to be very, very entertaining. That I can promise you. So sit back. If you got to space it out over 2 days, I figured that's better than 2 shows. So, like I said, great show lined up tonight. Got the cone here in just a second. Michael Palmer a little later in the show. Quick recap of Atlanta from the Truck Series perspective. We got the Xfinity and Bristol Cup race, social media shout-outs, weather with Aaron Studwell, and a full list of Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks to cover a few races here. So, all right, enough babbling. Let's get things started with this 100,000 downloads show. Let's get the orange cone on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his 12th appearance on the Lap Traffic Podcast. He's an OG, if you will. He's everyone's favorite inanimate object, yet he brings so much life and personality to Twitter and the Lap Traffic Podcast. Welcome back to the show, the Orange Cone. What's up, brother?
Hey, Brandon, I appreciate you having me on, man. I can't believe this is the 12th time I've been on. It seems like
12th
like it's been too long. It seems like it's my first time on the show. What the heck, man?
It's when I have to go back and look, that means it's been a minute. Your last time on was episode 149. This is episode 185. And yeah, back in September, man. That is way too long. I apologize. I will not make that mistake.
What the heck, man? I'm assuming someone else has overtaken my record, so we need to. I need to get
only
back
by one, and it's PETM with 13. That's it.
I need to get back in front of those guys.
You know who's creeping up though? Is Jeff Striegel.
Yeah, Jeff. He's a chatty dude, isn't he? And he's a Michigander. So
yes, Jeff.
He's trying to use that connection. He's trying to use that connection to Jimmie his way in front of me.
Yes. Well, listen, man. So a couple of things before we get rolling here. So tonight is a special night, and I'm so excited that you're a part of the show tonight because this week's show with the Orange Cone is going to put the Lap Traffic podcast over 100,000 downloads. So thank you for being a part of it.
All right. Yes.
I am very excited.
That's big.
It's big. What everybody tells me as an amateur podcast, that's a significant number. So
that's a big number. I'm happy for you. That actually is a big number, and I can remember the very early days of this, and some crazy Italian woman pointed me in your direction, and it's a lot of fun, and for someone who doesn't do this full time, you do a nice job with it. It sounds like a professionally done radio show, which you can't take anything. You can't take that away from you, man. You do a really nice job.
I appreciate that so much.
And you've done a good job of getting active, participants, whether they be. I'm not as active as I used to be. I used to be a lot more fun way back in the day. But you're getting drivers, you're getting media people. It's a cool deal, and I'm happy for you. And 100,000 downloads is a significant milestone. So congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Now that that's out of the way, before we really get into it, let's first talk about the quarantine, man. The kids healthy, mini cones all doing good, and all that good stuff.
Oh man, the mini cones turned 12 the other day.
Crazy, man.
And the younger of the two is almost as tall as me. He's taller than his mother, which is amazing. The other one, the older of the two, not quite as tall, but they're just such cool little dudes, and I'm really lucky to be their dad. And our daughter, that random kid, if you follow along on my social media, we've got a lot of adventures together over the years, and she just she's got her driver's license now. So I don't see her as much as I used to, but she's got her got her first job. She's got her driver's license. She is a really, really cool kid. And we've made it through quarantine very, very well. Everyone's been happy. Everyone's been healthy. Ashley is, obviously my girlfriend Ashley is doing well, and her children are happy and healthy, and everyone is doing well. And I'm just the lucky one who gets to say I've got all of these great people in my life.
I am very happy to hear that. What I've seen some posts on Facebook. I mean, that bike ride's got some miles put on it over this quarantine.
We've put some mileage on the bike during quarantine. That's been a really cool thing is, for an orange traffic cone, I am able to ride 20 miles a day on my bike.
That's awesome.
So we've slimmed down. I might be down into pylon category here before long, rather than barrel category. We've gone from barrel to cone and hopefully down to pylon. But yeah, it's really cool. It's a great thing to be outside. And it's the one really frustrating thing for me throughout the course of the last 8 or 9 weeks is hearing everybody complain that they've been trapped in their house. And we haven't been. It's really frustrating to me. You can go outside. There's no law that says you can't go out and take a walk. You can't go take a bike ride. You can't go to the park. You might not be able to play on the play set at the park,
right?
But you can take a walk at the park. You can enjoy the outside. You can go go for a boat ride. You can do, there's lots of different things you can do. And it's been really nice to kind of reconnect with Mother Nature a little bit. And, I've seen lots of pretty cool things while I've been on those little adventures every day, deer and ducks and turtles and snakes. And my daughter saw some weasels the other day over at one of the metro parks here in Toledo. I saw a wild turkey the other day. It's really cool to be outside and, see Mother Nature. And the really cool thing is, as we record this, Brandon, is we've got Monday Night NASCAR going on, which
you have Monday Night NASCAR.
That's the one thing, the one thing that I was really certain of when the world kind of shut down. And, after kind of figuring out what the plan was going to be, NASCAR came back and said, look, we're going to still run 36 races this year to the best of our ability. And I started doing the math in my head. And I'm like, well, they're still going to run all their races. And we're not going to have as many weeks to get them done. So we're going to have like 2 or 3 races a week. Some weeks.
They're not going to cut into the off season. So if
right.
Do this, it was
right.
Easy to
so you're going to
midweek races.
So you're going to give me 3 cup races in the span of 8 days. Got it. I am good. Yes. I am in. Let's do that. We are, as we're chatting, the Xfinity race at Bristol is going on. That is the 7th race over the top 3 series in the last 11 days. I have no problem with that.
No, I'll take it. Yes,
this is great. This is great. And the really good thing for me is that ARCA is going to get back on track in the very near future. The East Series, ARCA Menards East, will be at Toledo Speedway on June 13th. They're going to make an announcement Wednesday regarding television coverage of that event. So stay tuned. That'll be some good news. And, we're going to Talladega the week after that. So we're going to get ARCA back up and running. Non-NASCAR racing has been going on. World of Outlaws is back in action. USAC sprints and midgets are going to be back in action. IndyCar is going to be back in action. It sucks. It really does that we've had this shutdown, and I know there's a lot of people out of work and they're hurting, and we need a distraction from every horrible thing that's going on in the world, and I'm glad that racing is there to fill that void.
Absolutely. No, it's great to have, and I talked about this on the show as far as what iRacing was concerned. iRacing, didn't completely fill that actual live sport void, but it gave us something to watch, and now we actually have that live sport to watch, which is just incredible. Like you mentioned, the amount of races that we've gotten in this, we've been spoiled from that regard in terms of the amount of racing we've been able to watch. But I gotta circle back here a second. So June 13th, ARCA East, is this like an exclusive on the Lap Traffic podcast, or is that known out there?
No, that's been known. Okay. We've announced that.
I didn't think you'd make me that special.
Yeah. Well, I did tease the announcement on Lap Traffic. But we've announced that one a couple weeks ago, and it's unfortunately we're not going to be able to have fans there. That's really tough for Toledo Speedway because that is one of the cornerstone events of their schedule. But sure. The upside of it is that ARCA is going to get back to racing. It's a necessary step that we're going to have to take. We're going to have to do these events without fans to show that, hey, we're able to follow these protocols, and we're going to do this. We're going to do it right. And we're going to take the health of our participants very, very seriously, sure. Because, when we are able to gather people, we want to make sure that the fans can come and not worry about, taking something home with them other than a souvenir and some really great memories. We don't want people to come to these races and go home and get their kids sick and get their wives sick or, get their neighbors sick. We want to do this the right way. And this is the very first step to get back to normal with stock car racing all across the country. And that's the really, the really cool thing about the ARCA side too, is, we've got, I think we had completed 4 out of 39 scheduled races across the 3 ARCA Menards East and West, in that whole platform. And,
sure.
Our goal is to get the remaining, 35 races in. That's our goal, and we're going to try to get back on target here. So,
do you think that might include cutting some tracks and running doubles at others, or are you guys going to try to hit all the tracks on the circuit there, do you think?
I know the preference, and that's what we're going to be working towards, is to get every one of those tracks that signed up to have the race that they signed up for. Whether or not that's a possibility or not, there's so many things that we've got to take into account.
Sure.
Whether it's, state by state governmental regulations, that's going to be the number one. The number one thing, and that's every sport is facing that. Major League Baseball is going to deal with it. That's interesting. You might be looking at some Major League Baseball teams that play the majority of their home schedule
somewhere else
at their spring training facility without any fans, because that's the only place they can go.
Absolutely.
So, I give credit to everybody in every sport, because as essential as this is to us, this is the way that we make our living, and it's, it is as important to every one of us. It's not essential to the daily operation of the world, Sure. But, it's not like we're not doctors, we're not grocery stores, it's.
But I tell you what, though, it's essential from the, if you're not a sports fan, then you can't relate to this next comment I'm about to make. But if you are a sports fan, it's essential to the mind, body, and soul.
But that's where it comes in, is that we need an escape from all of these things. So we do. We're going to have to play it very carefully. But I'm so happy that we're going to be able to bring these activities back into life, because we need a distraction. Anybody who's followed the news for the past week knows there's a lot of really unhappy people in the world right now. And if we can distract ourselves with something that we love for a couple of hours, a couple of times a week, more power to us, and I think we all need it. I give a lot of credit to the folks in charge of every professional sporting league right now, because it's the toughest times that we've ever had to go through when it comes to this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And the folks who have worked really hard to get NASCAR back on track, they have really come up with a really good protocol. They've come up with a really solid solution to a problem that no one could have foreseen back when Denny Hamlin went to victory lane at Daytona in February.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, if we're, to try to look at pros and cons, the pro might be that, hey, we're an outdoor sport that maybe might make things easier and be able to speed things up to get fans back than, say, an NFL game in a stadium like Ford Field, for example. But I think the problem might be is the, while the capability might be there and say, hey, yeah, you can do it, but it's the implementations of the protocols of getting people in. How do you space them out? How do you sort out the tickets? And I think it's the office and the clerical stuff that might delay things more than down the road than the actual ability to put that amount of people together.
Right. I'm not so much concerned sitting in the grandstands at a place like Michigan where there's room for 80,000 people.
Yeah.
You're outdoors, and it's the air is moving. And I'm personally, this is just me, I can't speak for anybody but myself. I might not be too concerned about something like that, but the process, the protocol that you have to go through with state and local health officials and governmental agencies, and that's the last thing anybody wants to do. Is have an event and then have any number of people come down with an illness. It's just it could be shoulder. Right. It can be crushing. So we're going to do everything we can to prevent that from happening. And I haven't seen anything in the way that NASCAR has done the last 11 days, the 7 events. I haven't seen anything that NASCAR has done that raises an alarm with me. And pretty alarmist when it comes to this kind of stuff. I've got young children. I've got people in my life with compromised immune systems. I love the steps that they're taking. I love that the social distancing and the precautions that they're going through with everybody, and I'm on board. I'm ready to get back racing.
Absolutely. Well, Cone, I got to tell you, I've worked a little hard over the last couple weeks and even towards the end of last season, part with your help a little bit, just to kind of try to bring some light and attention to the ARCA series, and my attention to ARCA has increased over the last couple of years, and I think that's going to progress for everybody. As ARCA and NASCAR has a little bit more involvement, obviously. Thad Moffitt, Mason Diaz, Drew Dollar, all have been on the show over the last couple of weeks. And Cohen, I got to tell you, the young talent that you guys have in that series, they carry themselves so well. The way that they're able to conduct themselves during an interview with a podcast with someone that they've never met, heard of for the most part, probably. You've got a great stable of young drivers coming up there.
I'm just going to give one of those guys a little bit of a shout out here, Thad Moffitt. What a fine young man. Just as well spoken as anybody that has come through this deal in a long, long time. And we've got a lot of really well spoken, great young drivers, but Thad is just, he comes from the Petty. He's a fourth generation member of the Petty racing family. Right. He's Richard Petty's grandson. So, he's been around this his whole life. It's part of his DNA. He's seen his grandfather and his Uncle Kyle, and, he knows how this is done, and he's taken to it like a duck takes to water. He's just does a really nice job representing himself and his team and his sponsors and in the series. And he's just what a fine young man, and Drew Dollar and Mason Diaz, another couple of great young men, and we've got a lot. Haley Deegan. What can you say about Haley and her family? They are so laser focused on everything that they're doing. And Haley is just you understand who her dad is and the level of success that he has and the lifestyle that they lead. And you have like this preconceived notion of what they might be like, and it couldn't be any more wrong. They're just really nice people. They're a lot of fun to be around. They're very easygoing and very approachable. And I'm not a big X Games viewer, so I had heard of her dad, Brian Deegan. But I never really watched what they did. Just wasn't my cup of tea. But I have gone back and watched it, just to kind of have an understanding. And there's just an incredible amount of talent and desire. And then Haley, takes that and points it towards stock car racing, and it's the same thing. She's already won 3 times on the West. She's finished second at Daytona. I personally think it's just a matter of time until she goes to victory lane in an ARCA Menard Series race, and I can't wait. That's going to be a big day for us.
One of the things, it's the level of enthusiasm that she brings, and I think it's great for the sport as a whole, the smaller series as a whole, and for females in terms of role models in the athletic world, if you will. I think she's doing everything right from that regard.
Right. She's just a lot of fun. I'm just remembering a time that I did an interview with her, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm in the sauna. Is that okay?" And I'm like, What do I care? I don't care. Sit wherever you want. It doesn't matter. You do you. It doesn't matter to me. It's just, but yeah, I can't think of a single time that I've been around her where she hasn't made me laugh. So she's just a lot of fun to be around. And, we've got a lot of great young drivers, whether they're east, west. Gio Selzy, another guy that out west, driving the 16 car for Bill McAnally Racing. He comes from the sprint car side of things. His dad is a former NHRA top fuel and funny car champion, Gary Selzy. And I tell you, if you ever have a chance to shake hands with Gary Selzy, just prepare yourself, because he is like a bear, like shaking hands with a grizzly bear. But he is just the nicest guy. They tell the greatest stories. They're just really wonderful people. And Gio is like, one of the most driven young guys that I've ever come across in racing. All he wants to do is race. I asked him one time, I said, what would you be doing if you couldn't drive race cars? He goes, no, I'm going to drive race cars.
That's what I'd be doing.
There's no plan B. That's all I want to do. Yeah. So,
well,
yeah.
And that's the mindset you need. That's how, I mean, I don't know how you get to that level if you're not 110%. That's what you want to do. Like, if you can even remotely think of doing something else, then you probably aren't going to do it.
Right. And I'm kind of in that same boat. You know, I remember going to college and all I wanted to do was go work in racing, you know, doing the PR or marketing. And, you know, here we are. I'm not going to tell you how many years later, but
well, fair enough.
Hey, I finally made it.
You finally made it. There you go. Well, man, hey, did you get to take in any? You mentioned the Xfinity race on right now. Did you get to watch the Cup race at all yesterday?
Yeah, I have been watching just about anything that has been on the television. You know, the one takeaway for me is this budding Kyle Busch Chase Elliott rivalry is going to be a lot of fun if these guys keep running into each other and keep running up near the front of the field every week.
Can't be bad, right?
Can't be bad. You know, it almost reminds me of the rivalry when I was coming up, a youngster. You know, the Darrell Waltrip Bobby Allison rivalry when I was a kid back in the early 80s was a lot of fun to watch. And you know, this kind of reminds me of the same. You know, back then, you know, you had Bobby, who was immensely popular with the fans, had been most popular driver a couple of years running. And you had Darrell, who was not popular with the fans. They were competing for championships and wins week in and week out every year for 3 years. And what do you have right now? You've got Chase Elliott, who has been most popular driver every year he's been in the deal. You've got Kyle Busch, who I think if they had a vote for the most hated, least popular driver, would be in contention for that every week. They're fighting for wins and they're fighting for championships. And I just think it's great.
I love the fact that they're fighting for championships now. I guess I can't say Chase hasn't made the Final Four, but I love the fact that HMS is finally back showing speed consistently. Chase has ran consistently each week since we've been back here. He's got the win.
Yeah.
Could have had two. I mean, so here's, and I want to get your take on this. Like, Cone, you've seen me enough on Twitter and all that. You know how much I love the Truck Series. And the build to that bounty back before when we were going to Atlanta, I was so hyped up for that race. Like, it was, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because you've got attention, and I've gone on rants on pros and cons of the Cup drivers in the Xfinity and the Cup trucks and all that, but this makes sense. It was perfect. Like, the stars were aligned for that, and then we didn't get it. And, there was hype around it, I think, but that was just because we were finally back truck racing, but it wasn't there to that degree. But I tell you, that truck race, just the fact that you had Kyle and Chase running up at the top there, man, it was such a great race.
You know, it's funny. You see the social media traffic after the race, and, obviously Chase wins, and he's a Cup driver, and there were a lot of really happy people that Chase won that race. And they're like, I see how it is. A Cup driver can win the race as long as it's not Kyle Busch, right? Yeah. That's right. That's what people want. Yeah, right. That's what people want.
You want that heel and baby face, storyline.
Right. Well, the thing is people, they're interested in that to some degree, but we totally underestimate just how much people do not want to see Kyle Busch coming in and taking these wins away from Xfinity Series teams and Truck Series teams. That's the people are just they don't want to see it, and I love that Kyle sticks it right back to him.
Absolutely. He embraces it. Something
he does. The bow after those races. Yep. He doesn't care.
Well, and how great a Chase to bow after that truck. I mean, that is like, come on, give me more.
Right. I mean, when you consider what had happened, just a few days prior to that at Darlington, I was like, all right, Chase, show a little personality here. All right, good for you. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Stick it to the man, right?
I think I wasn't sure what we were going to get at the end of the Cup race yesterday. I kind of expected Chase and Logano to go after it a little harder, but they both respectfully put their masks on. They casually walked towards each other. Come on.
So, I mean, I'm not surprised that Chase Elliott handled himself that way. I don't see Chase as a big brawler.
No, I wouldn't.
He's not gonna get himself into a big argument like that. But I will say I am a little surprised that Joey has gotten himself into some predicaments over the years, right?
Well, when he got out of the car, and not only did he put his mask on, he put his glasses on. I'm like,
right,
this is going to be more civil than what people are going to.
Right, the glasses, yes. The glasses were that was the cue for me.
Yep.
Things were going to be a little more chill.
Yep. Oh, that's funny. Well, listen, so we've got 9 races in. Penske 4 wins, Joe Gibb Racing 2 wins, HMS 2 wins, SHR 1 win. Chevy's done a great job. It's not as predictable as years past right now.
It is not. I think some of that is the fact that we're showing up to the racetrack for the last 2 weeks. We're not practicing. We're not qualifying. We're just racing, we're inverting.
Where I was going to go with things.
Right. I agree with Brad Keselowski that I think that there is some sort of magic to this formula. I don't know that it's going to stick around forever this way, but for now it's working, and it really has added a very interesting level of unpredictability to all of these races, whether it's trucks, Xfinity, or Cup. I'm happy with it. I think it's great. As a fan, I think it's great.
Absolutely. And I put this out to some of the fans to the show, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But like for me, my big thing is there's a couple of facets to it. One, these guys are all professional drivers. The big thing for me is I think that the pit crews were going to impact things, and they sure have. We've seen a lot of speeding penalties. We've seen the pit crews come into play both for and against the driver over these last couple weeks of racing. And for me, I don't think that you need to have, for at Michigan, for example, you'd have 2 practices on Friday, qualifying, and a 2-hour happy hour on Saturday. Why does Jimmie Johnson, who's been to Michigan umpteen times, need 5 hours worth of practice, basically, Right. Let's scale that down. Let's give them a quick happy hour. If they want to work on qualifying trim. They want to work on race trim. And then maybe let's give guys that are 5 years or under, we can give them their own separate practice or something like that.
So I have a friend who's been around racing longer than me. Only because he's a few years older than me. But so I like, and again, I'm saying this as nothing more than a fan of the sport, not
Sure.
someone who's an employee in any way, shape, or form. But I like this idea. He says he would not have any practice anywhere at any time.
Right.
He would have only qualify at one race all year long. That's Daytona. Set the lineups for the twins by single car qualifying, run the duels, and then from there on out, you find some sort of invert for the field. You invert whether it's the winner base. Here's where it really gets interesting to me. The winner will determine how many cars are inverted for the next race, and they would do that. And this is going to go to an old ARCA. Greg McCarn's, his family's old ARCA late model tour. They would do this after qualifying. The pole winner would, the fastest in qualifying would come out and roll a set of dice on the front stretch. And then they would add that. It would like 6 and the roll of the dice would be how many cars they would invert. Well, I would do the same thing. So Brad Keselowski wins the race the other day. So as soon as the race is over, Brad rolls a couple of dice, add it to the number 6, and that's how many cars we invert going into the next race at Atlanta. And where you could make it interesting is, and just like they did with ARCA, you could they called it the ultimate challenge, where the pole winner could elect to start last, and if he wins the race, comes up with some sort of monetary bonus, or maybe you give them a buy into the playoffs or something like that. I don't know what you could do. I just think there are so many interesting things that you could do with something like that. I'm like, yeah, I actually think that would be cool to try something like that, going forward. I don't know that NASCAR is in a position to do that, particularly with the Cup Series, but
sure.
Yeah, it might be fun at a truck race somewhere down the line, huh?
So here's where I'm open for all that. Like, so here's the thing for me as a amateur podcast and someone that goes to anywhere between, let's say, 3 and 6 races a year, like, if it's not those 3 or 6 races, I'm cool with as little track time as you want to give them. So when I take that into account and look at it from a fan perspective, well, if I'm a fan that's camping all weekend and not just driving in for the Cup race on Sunday, that wants to casually be able to walk in and out of the grandstands and the midway or whatever they call it at that track into back to the campground, I get where that fan might want to feel like he's getting his full money's worth with being able to casually see practice or casually being able to see qualifying.
Right. Well, I mean, certainly race weekends are a lot different now than they were when I was 20 years old and going up to Michigan for the entire weekend. I mean, you would have a morning practice, pole qualifying, an afternoon practice, second round qualifying. Then you would come back the next day and you would have the ARCA race or the Busch race. Then you would have happy hour practice. And then on Sunday, you would have the Cup race. Things have changed quite a bit since then. That's not to say that they're not going to change more, somewhere down the road.
Yep.
I think that there are ways that you could give the paying customer, the ticket buyers, their money's worth. And I was just talking about this with another friend today. I think you might see, a lot more same day double headers, whether they are, twin races for the Xfinity series, twin 200s, or even the Xfinity series in the trucks, like they do it, had originally scheduled at Atlanta. I think that that's something that as the sport evolves coming out of the pandemic, I think that's something that you might see a little bit more of going forward. And I think, look, if I knew that I could go to a racetrack and buy a weekend pass for $100 and I was going to see an ARCA race, a truck race, an Xfinity race, and a Cup race, all in the space of 2 days.
Sold.
count me in.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
count me in. And again, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen.
Right.
That's just me speculating. But
there is there for sure.
Right. But how cool would that be?
Yeah.
Just instead of spreading it out over 4 days, you spread it out over 2 days. You're in and you're out.
Yep.
And yeah, I would be completely down as a race fan. I would be completely down for something like that. I actually think that, and again, I'm not in on any of these conversations. I'm on a need to know basis, and I do not need to know at this point. But I really do think that the leadership in all major forms of motorsports are really working hard on trying to streamline these weekends so they can get people in, get them out, give them everything that they want to see, and kind of streamline some of those extraneous, I'm just going to call them fluff things, like practice. I mean, I can remember going to Michigan back in the 90s, and you'd have 30,000 people at the track for a practice day. And you don't have that. You just don't have that anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's practice.
Yep.
But I think if you said, hey, instead of having all this track time for practice and qualifying, we're going to give you races. Okay. I'm down. Yeah. Right. I'm down.
And that might help camping. That might draw more people all across the board.
Right. I was really interested to see how the Pocono experiment worked out with the twin Cup races on back-to-back days. And the really cool thing as we come out of this pandemic is I think we're going to get to see that more times than not.
Yeah.
Michigan probably and again, likely. Right. I mean, and I'm not, stealing a base here because I have the same information everybody else is working with at this point. But, I just common sense says there's only so many weekends and you've got so many races to get in. You're probably going to have to try that.
Yes.
I hope they do. I really do. I hope they are able to pull it off at some of these places. And I just think it's a great idea. I actually think that I'd like to see it same day. Twin 250s.
Right? Yeah.
Twin 250s for Cup at at Pocono, you give me 250-mile races instead of one 500-mile race.
Yeah,
I am completely in favor of that.
Well,
so.
and that's the same amount of value is at each race. It's half the distance.
Right.
You can't tell me the drivers aren't going to be more aggressive. You're going to have better on-track action with that. And, 250 miles or 250 laps. Like, how amazing would 250 laps at Bristol would have been yesterday?
That's not to say that, I still think a 500 at a place like Bristol is still really cool. I mean, you still got to get to the end, but I also think 250 lap races would be really cool. So I just think that there's a lot of things that every motorsports league is going to have to evaluate going forward.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see some really cool things as a result. And I'm, obviously wish that we never had to deal with what we've had to deal with in the last 10 weeks. It's not been great for anybody.
Sure.
But I think as a race fan, coming out of this, I think we're going to see some pretty cool things, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, now listen, I know you said you're on a need to know basis, but you know more people than I know. So I need you to do me a favor. Yes, you do. I need you to do me a favor.
Sure.
On behalf of Lap Traffic Nation, I need you to pass along a memo to somebody. I need an explanation. I need a logical explanation on why we have to count the laps during a comp caution and a stage break.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think that people have asked some of those folks from time to time, and
yes.
Yeah, I know O'Donnell gets blown up, regularly on these. I don't know what the situation is there. I think it's set once a race starts. We just count the laps.
Yeah.
They're in a red flag situation at Bristol right now in the Xfinity race, and once we come back from that red flag, we're just going to start counting those laps.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I as a fan, I'm going to say, hey, give me more green flag laps, right?
Well,
but
and especially if we reduce, let's say down the road, NASCAR decides, whether it's to cut races in half to create doubles at events, or maybe they decide, we think there's success in shorter races right now, and maybe 500s, I hope they still keep some 500s, but let's say 500s become 400s, 400s become three, whatever it may be, if you start reducing races, and it just seems like an inevitability that you would have to not count some of these. And my thing is I'm okay with natural cautions. It's the manufactured cautions, which I get some. I like the stages. I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with counting laps, especially at a place like Bristol yesterday, where we had 17 cautions. We burned 103 laps of 500 laps under caution, and 30 to 40 of those were NASCAR implemented brakes. And for me, I just have such a hard time with that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just part of the deal, though. It always has been. I can remember going to some short track races. You go to a 200 lap race and 110 of them are run under caution.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes that's going to happen. I think that's the trade-off. You get a race like yesterday at Bristol where you've got a lot of fender banging.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of accidents, which is action. It's what people want to see.
Sure.
Well, you're also going to get some yellow flag laps with that as well. So, sometimes I'll take that trade-off. I think some of the frustration with the stage break yellows sometimes, I get it. I understand. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're trying to get done for broadcast and such.
And I appreciate all that. Yeah, no,
right.
I love
but
that
it's just
talking to the winner during the break, but it eats up into stuff.
Right, but you're talking a truck race at Daytona, and you've got a 6 or 7 lap stage break after that first stage. There are only 20 laps to begin with, and then you're looking at 14 laps of green flag racing in that next stage. Yeah, it's just it is. It can be a little frustrating as a fan sometimes,
sure.
and first and foremost, I'm a fan of this deal, but there's always that trade-off there. So it's just part of the deal, I guess.
I'm with you. All right, let's circle back to ARCA here to wrap this up. I mentioned some names a little while ago. You mentioned Thad Moffitt, Mason Diaz, Drew Dollar, Haley Deegan. Who else should people that are new to ARCA, who else should they keep an eye on this year as ARCA fires back up?
I mean, you got to watch Michael Self. Michael's not 14 or 15 or 16 years old. He's the grizzled old veteran at the ripe old age of 28.
Right.
But Michael is so smooth. He is so good. And, he has worked for everything he's gotten. He's gone out and gotten that sponsor. He manages the sponsorship himself. He and his wife, he's going to school to learn the business side of this deal. And on top of that, he drives the race car and he does a really nice job at it too. And he's always smiling. He's always happy. He's a good dude, and he deserves some fans. So follow Michael Self.
He's
a guy in
traffic alum.
He is. Yeah. And a guy that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing on the east side of things as we get ready to get back to action is Tanner Gray's younger brother, Taylor. Taylor, up until now, has not been old enough to race. You have to be 15 to race in ARCA. So, but he still comes in with some pretty good racing experience under his belt. He's already flipped a late model car.
Wow.
At Martinsville. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. So we'll see him in action for the first time at Toledo, I believe, is the plan. Out west, we've got, Holly Holland and Gracie Trotter and Lawless Allen and, all of these drivers. Lawless Allen, what a cool name.
That is cool.
That's a stock car driver name right there, So
yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, we down in the traditional Southeast, we used to have, stock car drivers named, Bud and Haas and, but Lawless, I think that's a stock car driver name right there. That's good. So, we've got some really good top level talent spread all across the country, whether it's the ARCA Menard series, whether it's east or west, we're pretty stacked and we're really proud of these drivers. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Once we get everybody back up and running, it's going to be a lot of fun throughout the rest of the season.
That is awesome. Cone, man, thank you so much for being a part of this historic night. 100,000 downloads, episode 185.
All right,
12 appearances, man. I say it every time. The support. I love you, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Tell Lindsay to stay off of that boat with old Garrett.
All right. Listen,
that joke's not going to die. That joke's not going to die.
All right. So then real quick, we got to take a quick left here. So here's the thing. Old Gare, they've moved. They are no. They've moved down to Florida.
All right.
But Lindsay, I don't have to worry about Lindsay on Old Gare's boat. That's
for anybody who doesn't know, Brandon let his wife go out on a date with another guy inadvertently one time.
Listen, it meant me getting to the track with peace and quiet. So.
Right, it did. And I think Gary paid for dinner the next night.
Probably did.
Right. That was a fun weekend. That was a fun weekend.
Great. Yes.
Well, hopefully we'll get back to the racetrack before too long. I think we're going to see some news on the state of Michigan kind of starting to reopen here in the very near future, and I think NASCAR is going to have some good news again on a need to know basis, and I don't need to know, but this is just kind of my heart telling me I think we're going to get a pretty good big weekend of racing up in the Wolverine state here before too long.
Excellent. I love it. Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to the Orange Cone for calling in. Thank you as always, man. Stay safe, stay healthy, you and the family. Can't wait to see and talk to you soon, man.
You got it, man. Thanks, Brandon.
Yep. Oh, Lap Traffic Nation. So great to catch up with the Orange Cone. I love that guy. He is so incredible. And cannot wait for ARCA to pick back up. That's for sure. All right. So as I said at the start, I might have to cut a few things short here. I'm going to do that real quick. The only thing I want to say about the trucks is the bounty. Wow. What a performance from Chase and Kyle Busch. Chase picks up the win. Absolutely incredible. The Xfinity race, I feel sorry for my Xfinity fans out there because I'm just going to have to fast forward on that. Pick Xfinity talk up next week from Atlanta. I will say, though, I am very excited for the Dash for Cash coming back. Excited for that. That's for sure. That always is a exciting 4 races there. All right. Let's keep pressing on here. Let's talk a little cup racing from Bristol. And I want to start off, I got to go on a little mini rant here and just get it out of the way. 17 cautions for 102 laps. That's too many. That's too many. And I say it's too many because at least 30-plus laps were wasted between 2 comp cautions and 2 stage breaks. You heard me talk about it with Cone a little bit. Q Brandon's broken record. But I'm going to try to change the narrative of the broken record here a little bit and say this. If NASCAR shortens races going forward, there has to be a change. You can count the laps of natural cautions all day. I got no issue with that. But if you're going to end up cutting races, especially midweek races for one-day shows and all that kind of stuff, you can't. You just can't. You can't. I mean, they might, but I can't wrap my brain around why they would count unnatural manufactured cautions there. Okay, that's it. Moving on. All right, now to the race. The race, absolutely fantastic. And I say that because there were comers and goers that is visible to the common eye. Like if you're not a every weekend race watcher, you could easily distinguish comers and goers in that race. And if you don't believe me, go pull up jski.com's race results for that race, and you will see 15 different drivers with stage points. 5 drivers who finished in the top 10 did not earn a single stage point. 7 different leaders. And you had 9 drivers who earned stage points that finished outside of the top 10. Kevin Harvick's top 10 streak gone. Hamlin finished second in stage 2, finished 17th. Logano and Elliott finished 21st, 22nd. Granted, we all know why that happened. Almirola, DiBenedetto, Stenhouse, Blaney, all with stage points, finished 29th on back. If that doesn't show comers and goers and excitement throughout a short track race, I don't know what does. We had issues on pit road. We had an exciting finish. We thought we knew who was going to win 2 or 3 times, and that got changed. Bristol was just an absolutely incredible race. And if that's any prelude to what we're going to get next Wednesday with Martinsville, sign me up. Yes, please. All right. Real quick, got to talk about Brad's win. Second win since racing returned. Hard to argue about Penske and Ford right now. Chevy is showing strong. Chase's dominance. I could not pick a Final Four right now if I had to. I don't think it's fair to pick the Final Four just based on the top 4 in the standings, because right now that's 2 Fords and 2 Chevys. You can't tell me Hamlin, Kyle, and Martin Truex Jr. Are all 3 going to miss the Final Four. I mean, it's possible, but I wouldn't bet on that. There's been some consistency with the Final Fours as of late with Kyle, Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., a few others rotating in and out there. And we still might get that. But I tell you what, the round of 8 is going to provide some of the best racing we have had in a long time, I think. And I think that's just because the level of competition has stepped up especially with Chevy being back in the fold. The round of 8 might become what we consider in football with the 2 conference championship games being better than the Super Bowl itself sometimes. And I'm excited to see how that plays out. All right. I posed a question to you guys later in the week last week. What do you guys think about no practice and qualifying? Is it providing more exciting racing? What's your guys' thoughts? Well, let's get to your thoughts. Matthew at CH9SE fan should continue with this no practice and qualifying. Most time practice is nowhere near race conditions anyway. Qualifying from the last race with inverts is more fun. Cheaper, easier, makes no difference. Maybe run 30 minutes to check heights and pit speeds. Matthew, kudos, brother. I'm with you. I am right there with you. Joey at Joey_CLT. I'd like to see more races keep 1 and 2 practices and 2 laps qualifying, especially for playoffs. Inversions and draws can be fun, but they're gimmicky. The no practice and qualifying model is perfect for weeknight race or a special occasion. I'd love to see experiments with heat races as well. Man, Joey, I'm telling you, I think you and I went back and forth a little bit on social media. I love heat races. Like, heat races, Eldora, are amazing. And I totally see where you're coming from. I talk about like plate racing being gimmicky and comparing that to WWE and the cage match or the ladder match all the time. I feel you 100%. Fred at NASCAR-itis could do without practice. Not a fan of the invert, so let's qualify. DBC answered this for me on their last show as well. Excellent. Nice job there, sir. And glad you're feeling better as well, brother. Let's see. Next, Mick at Godex42_Mick. Show up Sunday, break them into 4 groups, draw for group and qualifying order. Each group goes out, gets the green for a 5 or 10 lap practice, 20-minute break, single car qualifying, and then race. Man, could you imagine that type of weekend? Could you imagine as a race fan being there and getting to see all of that back to back to back? That would be absolutely incredible. And CJ at CJ LaPearl, I think there's no need to have a Friday through Sunday show each weekend. Saturday practice, qualifying, and race on Sunday. Even if they qualified on Sunday before the race somehow, although I'm sure it would be tough with all of the pre-race activities, though the 600 qualifying worked well. I agree. I agree. Me personally, I'd like to see reduced practice times for Cup. Let that time maybe go to some track and fan media interaction. These guys are professionals. Maybe a 30 to 45-minute happy hour, and that's it. Maybe a second practice, like I was talking about with Cone, for anyone less than 5 years in the Cup Series can have a little additional time. And I'm good with qualifying. I personally would like to see qualifying. The invert's kind of cool. I like that just because, if you were good enough to be up at the front run race, let's see how you can do getting your way back up there in a second race. Something tells me, though, that might become an issue once we start changing tracks and things of that nature. But anyways, right now, NASCAR can do no wrong, in my opinion. Give us racing. And they've given us racing, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm very excited for Saturday's doubleheader and Sunday, and then Martinsville. So we're getting another set of 4 races here in a span of Saturday to Wednesday. I'll take that all day. All right, let's get to a little social media. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Like on Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast. Instagram, The Lap Traffic Podcast. YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast. Twitter and TikTok at Lap Traffic PC. Hope you guys are enjoying the audiograms that I've been posting out each week with a little teaser of the interview for that week. Hope you enjoy that. That's been a lot of fun to put together there. Make sure you subscribe and download and all that good stuff. Giveaways, less than 140 to go to give away the t-shirt and hat. Can't wait to give that out. Got the 5,000 follower rear quarter panel giveaway still going on there. Things are creeping up there, which is absolutely awesome. Some new follower shout outs. Tommy at TB Hogs from Arkansas, big NASCAR fan. James at James Bigley 85 from New York, and has been to the last 17 races at the Glen. That is a hell of a streak, man. That's awesome. Hunter at Arnsdorf Hunter from Oregon, big NASCAR fan. Coach Sellers at Coach Sellers 2. Tim at TPAC64. He's a GM at Fast Track Racing, a series that's late and super late models. That's absolutely awesome. Welcome to the show, guys. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for the follow, all that good stuff. Stickers and koozies. Man, I tweeted out once, and you guys blew that up. I literally went and got a new P.O. box today because of the move. Needed to go and get a new one. So the new P.O. box is the Lap Traffic Podcast, P.O. Box 831, Warren, Michigan 48090. That's on the website. And stickers and koozies have been stuffed. They are going out in the mail tomorrow. So if you requested one last week or over the last couple of months during the quarantine, those are all going out in the mail tomorrow. Maybe some of you guys will get them by the racing for this weekend at Atlanta, which is absolutely awesome. All right. This is about the time where you guys would expect the weather segment. But before we get to Mr. Aaron Studwell, I want to get Mr. Michael Palmer on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his second appearance on the Lap Traffic Podcast. He made his debut back in March during the listener call-in show, The Salute to the Frontline Workers. He's a nurse from the great state of Michigan. I know he's just as bummed as I am that we aren't going to MIS this weekend. He's had a hell of a 60 days. Welcome back to the show, Michael Palmer. Sir, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you tonight?
I am so awesome. I'm so excited to have you back on the show. I know a lot of the people that follow you, follow the Lap Traffic podcast. You interact with a lot of the same people that I'm interacting with. And I just thought it was absolutely fitting to have you on the show tonight for a couple reasons. One, your home track is the same home track as mine, MIS. We're not able to go this week. I know we're totally bummed about that. So let's have a little unique MIS show tonight. So what would your normal MIS week be like?
Normal MIS would be like, it's normally a couple days of work during the week that are the longest days ever because you're just counting the hours down, literally the minutes to you know that you're getting ready. And then I usually take the Thursday off before, for the Friday that I go out there. And that is like almost kind of like a Christmas Eve holiday thing that you're just so excited.
God, you and I are so the same right there. That's awesome.
You always take the following Monday off just in case there's rain, but that Thursday you're upbeat, you're ready to do this. And I'm about an hour from the track. So, the drive out to MIS, I get up early Friday morning. It's probably one of the funnest things I do is because just driving out there is so gorgeous, going up US 12 all the way.
I was just going to ask you if you were a 94 to 127 or if you were a US 12 guy. And
US 12 all the way.
Have to take US 12. I tell you what, every time, like for me, I know like the track's right around the corner when I pass Prehistoric Park. And when that, like to this day, I still would just love to like walk through that vacant whatever dinosaur weird ass park that thing is, but that's when you're close.
Yeah, there's a couple little landmarks that my son and I we kind of pick out when we're closing in, and when you're driving, and we go out there for the Christmas lights too, and it's just such a different feel when you're going to race Christmas. And that's one of the greatest the things there is about going out to MIS is just the scenery around it is they say pure Michigan. Well, MIS is totally pure Michigan. It's driving up US 12, pulling up to the track. It doesn't get any more beautiful than that.
I am so with you. What campground do you normally stay at?
I've never really camped there. I'm looking to camp this year for the first year in August. Just with my son being young, we kind of just commuted back and forth. But now it's going to be, camping. I did camp there 1 year. Enjoyed it very much. I was over in the Turn 2 area, and it's a lot of fun. It's just he's getting older now, so we're going to be doing a lot more experiences. And we, obviously have an RV now, so that's going to be playing into the picture in August if they hold the weekend. So.
That's all. Yeah. So we got to get to this RV thing. I'm very excited to hear about that, but I'm with you there. Like being in Michigan, like I've never really, last June was the first time I ever camped there. And I think we were either in Turn 2 or Turn 3 campground. And we were fortunate enough to have some friends that lived in downtown Brooklyn. We were able to stay 10 minutes from the track, which was absolutely awesome. We got to find about some really cool like restaurants that were off the beaten path that weren't on 12 or that weren't on 50. And I kid you not, one time my wife and I were sitting at this place, and there's literally a line of people. It's on Lake Columbia, and there's a line of people in there. And we're sitting at the bar eating dinner. We're literally wrapping up, and I kid you not, there was Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, and there was, I want to say, God, I know there was somebody else, but I'm drawing a blank, that was standing there. Literally, they had their name on the list, and they were literally waiting. And I literally pointed to Joey because he was next, and I'm like, dude, this is going to be your spot right here. Like, it was so cool because that's where the drivers and the teams, go. Like, Richard Childress sat 2 tables away from me one night, like, that, so to find those off the beaten track places out there is just a really cool thing.
I know a lot of when a lot of the drivers and teams come to town, they do talk about how great of an area it is, and some of the cool restaurants. They're not your chain restaurants; they're a lot of your family mom and pop owned restaurants, diners.
Absolutely, yep.
Great food, and so that's really cool to see. I know that there's a lot of drivers. There's an ice cream place in the area that's very famous.
Yes.
Family. So, if you go there, you have to keep your eyes out for them, especially on Saturday nights, from what I hear.
Absolutely. All right, man. So let's set the scene here.
All right.
It's the middle of March. I put out a tweet that I want to do a call-in show with anybody that's a frontline essential worker. And I think someone tagged you in that tweet, and that's how you and I started talking. You and I started, setting something up. And I remember before we recorded that night, you said to me this was the first podcast you've ever done. And my God, how things have changed for you from the Lap Traffic podcast to national TV. I am so excited to hear this full story, as are the listeners. So walk us through from the middle of March on the Lap Traffic podcast till now.
Well, I appreciate you having me on that podcast that night. You'll always be my first podcast. And, I've never really had a lot of experience with television, podcasts, anything like that. But from that night, I'm really just, the last 2 months have kind of been a big blur. And just in about the last week or two, I've been able to kind of have things slow down a little bit and just really think about a lot of things and take it all in. And it's like, wow, I can't believe this happened and this happened and that happened. But from being on the podcast with you, when it transitioned into a podcast with Stuart Haas Racing, which was a really cool, comfortable podcast, everybody's been great. And I didn't realize how fun podcasts are to do. So they're a lot of fun. They're laid back, relaxed. You just talk about the things you like to talk about. And it's just been a good time. And they were fun to do. And, I got one of the reporters, Dustin Long at NBC Sports, had reached out to me about doing a story on just frontline workers that are NASCAR fans. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So he's like, when do you have time to do it? And I was like, well, he's like, between now and Thursday. And I was like, now, because I'm leaving to go to work in like literally 2 hours because I'm working the night shift this week. He's like, oh man. So we got on the phone, we talked, and it was a great interview. Dustin is an unbelievable guy, just total.
He's been on the show once, and literally I've seen him 3 times since that. Every time I've said, dude, I got to get you back on. And, one thing leads to another. But now that you said that, I'm going to have to reach out to him. So, yeah, no, Dustin's a great guy.
Just a good guy all around, professionally. Just cool guy, and he really made me. Even though it's going to be on NBC Sports and NASCAR NBC, he just made it real casual and very open to talk to. And the article, it debuted on a couple of days after on a Friday, and I'd been leaving work and it was posted. And I was like, wow! And I just done a midnight shift, and a couple of days later, I got a message from him saying that they're going to reach out to you from NBC Sports with a Mike Tirico show. And I was like, Mike Tirico show on kind of noon on Wednesday. But it was a show that they had just launched on NBC Sports Network. And it looked like it was like one of those fillers for, the live sports shows that had been because of the COVID. I never heard of it, but it was new. So I was like, okay, so to kind of go through it, be ready to call in. So I go in and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually live with Mike Tirico, as nervous as I was. And then all of a sudden I pop up with Jimmie Johnson. I'm like, oh my God, like, you gotta be kidding me. And it was definitely something that I was completely in awe and shocked about. Jimmie he's not just my favorite race car driver, but he's a role model and somebody that I look up to just because of who he is as a person. And as a father and as just a person off the track, he's somebody that you kind of want. As me being grown, into more of my life, I kind of look at the way he has been, and that's somebody that I kind of want to be like. And then he drops, he's, being very thankful and everything myself and my coworkers have done. And then he drops this thing on how, he asks my son and I to go to we're going to go to the Bristol race. He asked us to be part of his pick crew. And I almost I was so glad I was sitting down during that interview.
That's awesome, man.
It was live, so there's no delays. And
right.
I was like, oh my God, like, really? And of course, they show the pictures, and my son's in Homestead last year. And of course, he's got a picture of Kyle Busch. I mean, he's got a Kyle Busch shirt on in our picture of Jimmie and Homestead. I'm like, oh Lord. And, Jimmie's cool. He plays it off and laughs. And then he goes, speaking of that, he goes, I hear that your son's favorite driver is Harvick, huh? And I was like, oh no. He's like, well, I talked to Harvey. He goes, he's all in on this too, and he'd like to spend some time with you guys also. And I was like, oh my, if it has even got any better than that. I mean, that was just unbelievable. And that it's so humble and thankful for that. And just the outreach of just not just the NASCAR, in general, but the NASCAR fans has just been awesome. And then the night that the RV we were just speaking about, I don't know how that came up, but that was the night I was going to bed, and I had to work the next morning, and I laid down, and my phone just started lighting up, and I was like, I wonder if everything's okay. So I look, and Marcus Lemonis had tweeted I won an RV, and I'm like, what? I was like, this gotta be fake.
Right.
Well, no, I'm like, it was real. It was real. And, instead of going to bed on time, I was up until about 3:00 in the morning when I had to be up in 3 hours for work the next day.
So you won like an actual RV, not like for a year kind of thing. You now own an RV.
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to go pick it up on Friday. Everyone's been asking about when I'm going to get it. Things here in Michigan, obviously, being here in Michigan have been kind of like unknown. And how do you do this? Well, the RV's in Toledo. So that posed a little bit of a headache a little bit.
Yep,
and I really talked to them probably an hour ago, and they're like, come on down Friday and pick it up.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is amazing, man.
It's just, the NASCAR fans and the NASCAR community are just so awesome. And, I learned that I had not been nominated by a lot of people for this, for, being on a nurse in the front lines. And I can't tell you how much that means to me, because, to me, I'm, working as an ER nurse, and you thought about it as it's, kind of coming down towards the end of it. And, I just felt like I was just doing my job and trying to help others, what I've always wanted to do for my whole life.
Sure. And,
for people to recognize you in the community and NASCAR, it's very humbling. And then, very thankful. There's no words to really tell you how appreciative I am and thankful for everything. Being away from my son was extremely hard.
Well, so let's talk about, so you all the ups right there. I mean, that is amazing, I guess. And, maybe some look at it as a down. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't now. But, like, you actually, got the virus, right? Like, you had to quarantine for 14 days-ish. You had to stay away from your son. I remember seeing a video of you guys eat McDonald's together, like off in the distance there, So, like, talk about, what that was actually like, to actually have it, to actually, know what your patients were going through a little bit, and how hard that was to be away from your son, because I couldn't imagine. I'm not a father, but I could only imagine. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, you go from the highest to highs, and, just everything that had happened, and being humbling and thankful. And then it's kind of like, the show, the 100,000 Cams that was on this past week or so ago, really portrayed how it felt in my life personally, because everything comes to hold. And, it was very emotional watching that, because now I had got the virus. Now I'm like, it was hard enough not being able to see my son, go around my family, that the only people that I was going around were my coworkers. And that was great. Sure. Because, you're allowed to you can interact with your coworkers. You laugh, you cry, you spend, weekends, nights, holidays with your coworkers. We're family, and they're amazing people. Now I can't see them, and you're totally isolated for 2 weeks by yourself. And having the virus itself, was pretty sick for a couple days. And then the recovery part was probably the hardest part. You're just tired. And I will tell you, if I'm being very candid and open, that it was more of a mental challenge than anything, because you cannot go out. You cannot have people come around you. You can't have visitors. The only thing that I had was my father would bring me couple groceries, once or twice a week, and just drop them off at my garage door. And that was it. That was, but it was part of the journey. And, I am able to go to work now, and I'm able to tell patients who have gone through it, now it's something I can relate to with some of the patients who have gone through it and beat it. It's something I can tell patients who are worried, I had it and I'm okay, and I'm back here working. And, it's almost like I look at it not as, oh, poor, I had the virus, but hey, I had it and it's going to be okay. I had it and I beat it. And, and if you get it, don't be scared. It's going to be okay. Things like that. And, you did say my son came by, we had McDonald's, and that was the best part of those 2 weeks. I mean, just to see him and eat the McDonald's on my balcony, he's down with my dad on the rocks.
That's so awesome.
It was a sign of the times at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's, today, this is going to get posted on Tuesday. You and I are talking Monday right before the Xfinity race kicks off here. But, today, Michigan governor finally announced, really things are now going to be able to get back to normal. Bars and restaurants are going to open. Retail's going to open.
Yes.
But it's still not without, it's not like, I went to Lowe's this weekend. There's plexiglass. It's not like things are going to start changing from that regard. I think, and hey, you're the expert here. You can tell me, plexiglass at retail stores, masks, all that is not going away anytime soon. And that's probably for the better, just to kind of help prevent,
right.
spread and the outbreak, but we're probably still a ways away from, enclosed social gatherings. We're still probably a ways away.
Yeah, I think that what the thing to do is to just listen and to kind of, even if you agree or don't agree with everything, just keep going in the direction we're going, because things are opening up and we are headed in the right direction. And I think that, with the announcement of the restaurants and bars opening up today, I saw that and my heart was so happy. I was overjoyed, because it's the smallest things you miss, like being able to go out to eat.
Absolutely.
I know movies and salons and theaters, they're not open here in Michigan yet, but how great is it going to be when you can just say, like, yeah, I can go to a movie, or because you can't do any of that right now.
It'll help us all appreciate the things that, we just took for granted as this is life and nothing's going to impact it. And we got slapped in the face with that pretty quick.
Yeah, that was the way it just panned out was just so quick. And I think right now, myself, my coworkers, especially, we're kind of, we're not seeing a lot of it anymore. We, compared to 12 weeks ago or so, it is just a huge 180 difference where I'm working in a lot of the hospitals in the Metro Detroit area, and even in Detroit itself. We really fought hard, and we're proud to see the direction we've gone into. It's the small things that matter the most in life. And I can tell you that right now is the one thing that I can take away from all this is that I will never, ever take advantage of those small things that mean the most to us ever again.
That's awesome. It's so humble. If people can't tell you're a humbled person, but that says it right there. One of the things that I just want to circle back to the 100,000 cameras, because this meant a lot to me, not just the fact that I was on it, but I was so honored, touched, humbled that I sent them about 6 clips. And the one that they chose was the one to introduce the command to start the engines. And the next picture that showed was your face in the upper right-hand corner. And I literally got goosebumps. I might have been cutting a little onion at that point in time when I saw that, man. And that meant more to me that I'm like, there's Mikey. He's on. He was just on the show a little while. Like, I just felt a connection to you at that point in time, man. And I got to tell you, like, I got goosebumps now talking about it. And that was such an awesome thing, man.
I did see that, and I loved it. I loved that they used what they used in your for the 100,000 cams that you gave them. I was like, that is so fitting. I was so happy for you, and the way they did it, they put it together. It was so until the leading up. Just the whole episode was just unbelievable. But how your piece when it went in just before the command to start the engines, it was awesome. And your voice has got this great voice to it, almost like if you're like listening to MRN. And I could see you calling a race one day. I could totally be in like my camper, just listening to a race, and you be the voice of MRN one day. I could still see that. I mean, and hear it, because you have that voice. And when you led that into how they put that in the piece, I was like, this is just so perfect. It really was,
dude. Like, you're gonna make me start cutting onions now, dude. Like that is an awesome. I'm touched. That is a great compliment. Thank you so much for that, man. That means the world to me. That is just absolutely awesome. Thank you. All right. Let's see where else we can switch this back. Jimmie Johnson, second place finish this past weekend, man. How excited were you?
I was super excited, for the Coca-Cola 600. You finished second, then you got the DQ, and I was like, oh man. I got home I had to work yesterday for Bristol, and got home, saw the finish. One heck of a, I ended up watching the race late at night. The whole thing, I DVR'd it, but I saw the finish. It was a great race. He's getting there. I mean, he's gonna get it. It's gonna come. I mean, he's got Atlanta coming up this weekend, and he's good there. I mean, I think he's got the most wins right now of anybody there. So, he's got some major contenders to go up against. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a Jimmie weekend at Atlanta.
You and your son are going to have a Logano Chase Elliott moment, I feel like, at the end of Atlanta. It's going to be Jimmie and Harvick are going to be battling for this thing, maybe.
Yeah. My son's called the winner the last 2 weeks in a row. He's called Brad for the 600, and he called Brad for Bristol. So I was like, wow.
You got to place a bet on his next pick.
You going to Vegas. You need to take my son with you because he's called Sunday races. So you guys may be coming back.
That's awesome.
And my son, he studies all that stuff up. And I told him yesterday, I can't believe it. You beat me again. Not only did you do that, but you called the winner again. He's like, I told you I've been studying. I was like, okay, dude, sure.
That's great. That's absolutely awesome.
It is.
So we're going to Atlanta. You're going to pick up the camper. So you were really excited and hoping that you're able to go use that thing at MIS in August. Yes, very hopeful. I booked all my stuff for August already, and yes, I talked to them, and very hopeful that it's gonna happen, and I have faith. And excellent. Well, let's just not to say worst case, but let's say you had to go somewhere else. Where non-racing are you and Mikey Jr. going in that camper? Non-racing. Easy. Silver Lake Sand Dunes. Excellent. Oh, what a great place. Hands down. Grew up there. Family had a cottage there till my dad and my uncle had a cottage there till we were about 12. Okay. And family moves on, all got to be teenagers. Cousins got married. Brother does his own thing, and I still hold on to that. I'm the one out of all 12 of us who held on to that place. And I'm so mad at my dad. Why would you sell that place? You could have given it to me and I would have taken over it, but still very near and dear in my heart. And, that's where my son and I love to hang out in the summertime is up there. So now we can actually camp when we go up there. That's awesome. I absolutely love that. Hey man, where can everybody, if they don't already, follow you on social media? You know what? Instagram is, if you want to see cool pictures from the track, I kind of converted my Instagram into a NASCAR fan account, Mikey2082. And you can follow me on Twitter too at Mikey2082. The same handles for both. So it's very easy. Awesome. Stick around for a second here after we wrap up. Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Michael Palmer for calling into the show. Man, thank you for all that you do. Stay safe, stay healthy. This may have been one of the coolest 23 minutes here. I really enjoyed talking with you. I know we talked about it in March, man. I hope we get to run into each other in August, man. You know what? That weekend, it's going to be, I'm believing it's going to happen. It's going to be a special weekend. And it's for not just NASCAR, but especially for Michigan NASCAR fans and everything that the state has been through. And thank you so much for having me. I feel very privileged and honored to be on your podcast because it is one heck of a podcast. So thank you. I appreciate that. I'm honored to have you on. We'll talk to you soon, brother. Lap Traffic Nation. Is Michael Palmer not one of the coolest individuals on the planet? Sacrifices his life from a health perspective to take care of us in the hospital, which is just incredible. So excited for him that he now gets to take his son around in a camper for all the races that they go to. He is an awesome race fan. That's I don't know what else to say about that. Can't wait to catch back up with him soon. And all right, now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Let's get Mr. Aaron Studwell on for a little weather. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter at RaceWeather, along with Brian Newdorf, keeping us all up to date on all the weather happenings. It was a quiet weekend for him. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Aaron Studwell. Sir, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Oh, I am absolutely fantastic. It's been a good show. Can't wait to get this thing posted. Glad to have you on and a part of this monumental show this evening.
Oh, no, I'm looking forward to making history with you. And as to Bristol weather, yes, all racing, no radar.
Right? that hasn't happened since we've been back. Like,
No, it's been more everything opposite of that, and then everybody was just sort of like stunned. He's like, "Hey, it's gonna be nice for the weekend. Are you sure?
right? Yeah.
Is this NASCAR? You looking at the right series? Yes.
You're looking at the right state, the right track. Like,
Yeah. Bristol, Connecticut, Bristol, Tennessee. No, Bristol, Tennessee.
That's funny. What'd you think of the racing this weekend?
Okay, I'll start with the Cup race. I pondered a nap at the beginning of stage 2. I'm glad I stayed up.
Yeah. Yeah. You made the right call there.
Yeah, definitely. Strong day for Penske until Blaney had his bit of a run in, and then the 13 thought he was going to stay low and went high, and everybody got the wrong end of that one. Stage 2 also brought us the Bristol version of the big one.
Yeah. That was crazy. I was not expecting that.
No, and it just kept happening, and it was just a little, it was just one of these things when flying jets in a gymnasium, just one of these little things. Johnson, I hate to say, even misjudged it. It's just Stenhouse had to check up a little bit, and he was trying to keep out of the back of Kenseth, I think, and then Johnson just tapped him, and off it went.
Yeah, that's man, and to collect, and at that point, you're going to collect cars, so it's an inevitability at that point in time.
Yeah, you may hear in your headphones, "Hey, there's a wreck on the front stretch," and you're coming out of 4, and you look up and you're
already there.
You're there. Yeah, you have 2 seconds to react. You're already downshifting. You're downshifting, foot on the brake, clutch in, and trying to steer. And then try to anticipate where the car is going to be. And I thought Gordon actually did a very good job about at what point do you decide to accelerate and try to get past, or at which point you try to decide which way they're going, and at which point you just say, "I want to close my eyes."
Yeah, hold on tight and hope for the best. Yep.
Well, that was another interesting point. I think it was 2 weeks ago this was brought up, because you'd seen somebody had let go of the steering wheel at Haley when Tommy Joe Martins had his accident. And Haley had let go of the steering wheel and had his arms across his chest.
Yep.
And Boyer was saying, "Hey, I never let the steering wheel go, but it's all a factor of what kind of racing you grew up with. Because with the sports cars or open wheel cars, you've got different steering ratios, so you could literally." And the first person I saw do that let go was Danica.
Right.
And it was because if you're holding on in an Indy car, you're probably either going to break your wrist or your forearm with all the force that's coming back in on you.
And I think because of Danica, I think Jimmie actually started doing that as well.
Yeah.
That's a good point there.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting to see all those reactions coming to it. So, and then stage 3 was stage 3. Just, my gosh, it's everything I think you could have wanted Bristol to be. And I want to ask you a question on this one, saying minus the fans. If there's a crowd there and Logano goes up to Elliott, are the emotions a little bit higher?
Oh, I think so. I think it's a very different outcome when those guys are on pit road there at the end of it.
Yeah, as I saw somebody post, it's like a father yelling at his teenage son. And that's what it looks like, because Logano had his glasses on.
Yes.
He's got a little bit of the ball spot up top, and Elliott's is young. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's a good call there. Yeah. And I talked about it with Cone a little while ago. Once Logano put his glasses on, you knew nothing was going to go down. Like you knew, like, it was like, oh man.
It was like a disappointed father walking over to his son.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. Like the dad, he pulls the paper down, looks over, staring over the nose bridge of his glasses, like that.
Oh, that's great, because I can actually picture that now.
Right?
Thank you.
Not the brawl we were all hoping for, but that's all right.
No, and I think Cone. That's actually a great thought by Cone, because I didn't really think about it, because he's not going to throw down. Putting on his glasses.
You're not going to hit somebody with the glasses on.
You wouldn't hit a guy with his glasses on,
right?
Would you?
Yep. Nope. All right, Matt. Well, we are headed to Atlanta and Martinsville. I know Martinsville is a long ways away to forecast, so we can stick with Atlanta Saturday, Sunday. How are things looking?
Not great. And I want to preface it by saying I am monitoring Tropical Storm Cristobal. That is on the Patreon page. So if you go to my Twitter, you'll figure out how to get there. It is not going to be a direct factor for the Atlanta forecast, though. We are monitoring it. It is not going to be the direct factor. What will be a direct factor is a cold front moving through over the weekend. So as it approaches the Atlanta Motor Speedway area, which is actually south of Atlanta, on Saturday, we're going to see an increased risk of scattered showers and thunderstorms. The front is actually forecast to pass on Saturday night into Sunday. So behind it, we're actually going to see isolated showers, a declining risk of rain in the afternoon, but increasing afternoon winds. Southerly at 10 to 15 miles an hour, so that's a headwind going into to a tailwind coming out of 4. Highs on Saturday mid-80s. Highs on Sunday near 80. So we'll be actually a little cooler behind that cold front. So there's a higher risk of rain on Saturday. I'm not saying Sunday's clear, but much lower risk of rain for the Cup race.
Excellent. Well, hey, at this point, nothing's going to surprise me in terms of what day we may or may not go racing with anything. So,
yeah, and it's going to be tough. We'll have to watch it. They do have lights, so they could be more patient.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Monday is an option. Monday would be an option for either or both, truck or Xfinity, because they don't race for a bit, and I don't know what logistics would be. They may just wait.
Yeah, I think they're going to want to get Cup in on Sunday if at all possible.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Cup would be Sunday. Don't move that, and if you have to move either Xfinity or the truck series, maybe push that to Monday. But again, I don't know the logistics.
Yep. All right. Before I get you out of here, you have to update everybody with the Lapped Traffic Fantasy Weatherman head-to-head battle. And things are holding strong. Each week, who's ever been on has picked up the win. You picked up a 3-2 lead with Charlotte, but Brian picked up the win with a dismal 48-11 win to tie things back up last week. So you guys are back tied 3 wins apiece, which just means you're probably going to win this week. So
we've got 4 chances to win this week. Yeah, that was abysmal.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. That's
Cindric finished 36 out of 37.
Right. Yeah. 11 points. I mean, you almost got to try to do that bad.
But here's the thing. I could have picked, and nothing against Timmy Hill. I could have picked Hill.
Right.
In both races.
Yeah, right.
He would have gotten me more points.
Yeah, who would have thought that, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, make sure you follow Aaron on Twitter at RaceWeather, along with Brian Newdorf at NASCAR_WXMAN for all the updates this weekend. Great to talk with you, sir. We'll catch you in a couple weeks, man.
You will. I will be back, and I will be promoting this wonderful 100,000 milestone you're going to reach.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. Always great to catch up with Aaron. Can't wait to talk to him in a couple weeks. But right now, it is time for this week's stacked Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks. I'm going to get right into my Lucky Dog of the weekend. It's the fans. It's got to be What a Race at Bristol, baby. Lap down. Caution laps that get counted when they shouldn't. All right. I had to. All right. Over about a page and a half worth of tweeted responses, and I'm going to get them all in because I appreciate everyone that takes the time to send them. Greg at Greg Whited 4's Lucky Dog once again is Keselowski. Could be Kurt, and everyone who picked him this week, all things considered, a lot of people went with Kurt Busch this week. Lap down Chase. He went a little too hard, got loose under Joey. Racing thing just sucks. He had a rocket. Scott at 1985 Wagner. He's got 3. He's got a truck, he's got a Thursday, and he's got a Sunday edition. So Scott's truck edition. Huge tie for Chase being the Hunter and Harvick for posting the bounty and the charity of Chase's choice. Lap down, Matt Crafton, weird truck issues. Scott's Thursday edition, Lucky Dog Chase, 2 races, 2 series, 2 wins. I like that. Lap down, Kyle and Kenseth, poor luck. And Scott's Sunday edition, Lucky Dog Boyer, a tie with Boyer and Keselowski, along with Logano and Elliott for lap down. Racing hard equals bad finish. CJ LaPearl, at CJ LaPearl's Lucky Dog Chase, finally securing a win. Honorable mention to Stenhouse, solid run for those guys. Lap down, Bowman, come on, man. He keeps it up front for 2/3 of the race lately and then goes backwards. CJ's pick for Sunday. Lucky Dog, Brad stealing yet another win. Lap down, Matt DiBenedetto, promising day but did not deliver. Matt at Camper News, Lucky Dog Truck Edition, Lucky Dog Chase for winning the race and the bounty. Hoping this will result in more wins this season. Lap down, Crafton for having a good race, and his truck had the mechanical problems. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fan, Lucky Dog fans, what a race. And Keselowski for being in the right place, the right time. Lap down, Hamlin, Logano, and Elliott. Great runs, derailed by hard racing. Nothing wrong with that, though. It's all part of the game. Rowdy at the Rowdy Dragons, Lucky Dog Keselowski lucks into another win. Couple people with the lucking into another win, and it's hard to disagree with that, to be honest with you guys. Lap down for Rowdy. Chase Elliott pushes a little too hard, costing him a possible back-to-back win. Eddie at EG3_Fast Eddie's Lucky Dog Alan Gustafson didn't need to make a final decision on the pit box in this one. Chase took good care of that. Lap down, Bowman hit the wall all by himself, resulted in a wasted opportunity to get another win. Eddie for Sunday's Lucky Dog Keselowski steals another one from the cookie jar. Right place, right time. Lap down, Blaney can't finish the majority of these spring Bristol races without running into some type of issue. Lisa at LL Chilnana's Lucky Dog, lap traffic. During the last 30 laps or so, you just kept hearing lap traffic. As far as I'm concerned, it's you. I will take with honor that Lucky Dog vote there. Lap down, Chase and Joey, they didn't pay attention while they were having their pissing match. I absolutely love that, Lisa. That's great. Roger at ROJODI's Lucky Dog Chase got the good luck tonight. Lap down, Bowman hustling and hits the wall. Special award for Ryan Blaney. Fred at NASCARitis Lucky Dog Chase lap down NASCAR for not letting the entire team be in victory lane 6 feet apart. And Ethan at Internet_Ethan's Lucky Dog Stenhouse. What a rebound from a rough start to the season. Already has 2 top 5s for JTG. Lap down Bowman would have likely inherited the lead when Harvick faded. Elliott would have had to go through him for the win. All right, those are your tweeted responses. Let's get to your calls on the Wave Around Hotline.
The voice of the Wave Around Hotline calling in late night edition. Chase is the winner. Fire up the damn siren! Woo! Chase is the lucky dog, man. After telling Kyle Busch he was number 1, Alan Gustafson having a major snafu. Chase is the lucky dog for coming back and winning Charlotte. Granted, I watched almost none of the race. As you know where I went. I sent you a text. That was funny. Then just scrolling Twitter. I'll get the full race recap in the morning. Alex Bowman, I hate to say it, you're the lap down. If that 88 team could finish races, man, they're going to win a lot of races this year and very easily could find their way in the Final Four. So Bowman is the lap down for not finishing races. Let's see if we can make it back-to-back. And as the famous John Sterling, the voice of the Yankees, says, back-to-back, belly-to-belly for Chase Elliott this weekend at Bristol.
Oh, Andrew Gansian, way to kick off the Wave Around Hotline. Absolutely love that. And I know you're coming up one more time here at the end. So let's keep things rolling. Let's get to the next call on the Wave Around Hotline.
Hi, Brandon. It's Matt at Camper News Net. So, with Bristol, absolutely, it's Bristol, baby. And what a crazy race today. Absolutely crazy to see the racing that occurred. Without practice, without qualifying, it made it seem crazy, and that's what happened. And, all that stuff. So just get on with it. Lucky Dog, it's going to go to Kurt Busch. He had a bad start to the day, and eventually at one point went 2 laps down and that last caution at the end of the race, was able to get back on the lead lap and came back for a top 10 finish. An absolutely unbelievable day for Kurt Busch. Actually was my pick for the fantasy league, and it actually worked out this weekend with that. I thought it was going to be a bad weekend once again for the lap track fantasy for me this weekend, but luckily, Kurt Busch came through after 2 laps down at one point during the day. So Kurt Busch definitely my lucky dog on lap down. Joey Logano and Chase Elliott. Hard racing, but very unfortunate what happened out there. It was very hard racing, and, they both lost in the end. So that's it. Enjoy your week, and I'll talk to you next weekend after Atlanta. Take care. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Oh, Matt, thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate the call, as always. Logano and Chase kind of... it was a matter of, if I'm not going to win, you're not going to win. Neither one of those two are going to be happy with second place, and neither one of them got second place or the win for that matter. All right, let's keep going. Next call on the Wave Around Hotline.
Hey, Brandon, it's Kathleen at KHI Fan. I really enjoyed both Bristol races. The no practice situation is still not turning out to be a big deal. And, these guys are all professionals, whether it be the crew chief or the driver. And if they don't have practice, they just need to figure it out, make things a little bit harder for them. And I think it makes it a little bit more exciting for the fans. I don't know if no practice would work on a regular weekend. If they do go to midweek races at some point, making those a one-day show would be a great way to maybe throw in a no practice, or maybe have very limited practice, a half an hour or 45 minutes at the most. But I think we really could do away with it for some of these races. And on that midweek race topic, let's not go crazy with them with the whole idea of that. I think maybe throwing one or at the most 2 would be plenty, but I think it would be fun to explore and see how that all works out. My lucky dog this week has to go to Boyer and his P2 finish. Finally, he made it through a race without calamity striking. My lap down has to go to Logano. I think he took the whole meeting and apology thing a bit too far. If you feel wronged and you want to talk about it, fine. But I just don't like the whole idea of the apology thing at all, regardless of who the drivers are. It's like, come on, get over it. Let's move on. Anywho, I think that's all I've got for now. I'm sad that we have to wait until Saturday for a race, but at least we're getting a doubleheader. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Kathleen, thank you for calling in. I tell you, time and time again, you and I agree on so many things. And as far as the midweek races go, it's great right now, right? Because we don't have to worry about fans. But once we have to start taking fans into account, I wonder if you could do those one-day shows at tracks that are in a little bit more of a bigger metropolis area. And the one that's coming to mind is Richmond. Downtown Richmond, the Richmond area is drivable in a one-day show to where you could get in and get out and not make it too much of an inconvenience, especially if you did it as a Saturday night. People could show up Saturday or even Friday, whatever, and camp, leave, not have to worry about taking time off work, all that kind of stuff, or even drive in and out for the day, and the number of tracks that we could do that with are obviously limited. But I think if they could structure it around the few that we could, I think that would be amazing. All right. Let's close this week's Wave Around Hotline out with the voice of the Wave Around Hotline.
What's up, Brandon? Voice of the Wave Around Hotline, Phase 2 at Racing Cats. Coming in hot from Bristol. what a race, more short tracks. Please, we need to find a way to get Nashville Fairgrounds on the Cup schedule in the next, 2 to 3 years. That'd be great. I mean, I don't know what more you could ask. I mean, I'm a Chase fan, and I'm kind of bummed that he finished, 22nd or something, but if my guy's going to finish 22nd because he was, balls to the wall going for the lead, I am absolutely not complaining. Lucky Dog is the fans, man. If you did not enjoy that race, I legitimately have nothing for you. And my lap down, who I want to give a lap down? Just to pick on him, I'm going to give Ricky Stenhouse a lap down just because he crashed again, even though it wasn't his fault. But, Ricky Stenhouse and hitting walls, like a wise man once said, go together like peas and carrots. All right, buddy, have a good one, and hopefully we see another good race coming in at Hot Atlanta this week.
Mr. Andrew Canzian, thank you for calling in for both the late race last week and for Bristol this weekend. I appreciate you as always, brother. Can't wait to catch up with you soon. All right, that is going to do it for this week's Lucky Dog and Lap Down segment. All right, I'm going to keep it under 2. I promise I am. It is time to close this thing out with a little lap traffic fantasy. Just a reminder, get your picks in by midnight on Friday. Keep the Twitter interaction up. Don't forget to email fantasylaptraffic@gmail.com. Keep track of your picks on the websites, all that good stuff. 4 Cup races to go in segment 1, and things will reset. Not the best week for the league as a whole, but Michael Elliott knocked it out of the park this week. He was the only player to sweep this week with picks of Brad and Noah Gragson, which also means that he is the weekly high this week with 109 points. Nice job, Michael Elliott, climbing up in the standings there. Again, no one cares who I take because I'm in whatever. I don't know. My goal is, if a miracle and a snowball's chance in hell, to maybe make the top 16 in the playoffs, but I doubt it. All right, over to the top 10 in standings. A shakeup for sure this week. We have a new leader in first. With 727 is Jess Rose. In second with 712 is Joe Houston. In third with 709 is Chad Robb. In fourth with 706 is Richard Cravens. In fifth with 702 is Toby Christie from the final lap. In sixth with 692 is John Entwistle. In seventh with 691 is Kent Daltfay. In eighth with 690 is Nathan Singleton. In ninth with 682 is Brian Hall. And wrapping out the top 10 is Mr. Greg Whited. No ties in the top 10, which is crazy. All right, let's get to this week's picks, and let's get this week's week high on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, he had the highest picks last week. Welcome to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Nathan Singleton. Nathan, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks, Brandon.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. Nice job with the picks. You had a great week at Charlotte. Not so good a week this past weekend at Bristol. Let's make some picks. We are headed to Atlanta and Martinsville. Let's start with Atlanta. Atlanta has been dominated by Ford and Chevy as of late. The last 3 winners have been Fords, and someone we're very familiar with as of late, Brad Keselowski, has won 2 of the last 3 at Atlanta. With someone who's had a lot of success at Atlanta is also Kevin Harvick. I saved him for this week, and I'm sure some of you did as well. Chevy has won 3 of the last races prior to the Fords here. Back-to-back wins for Jimmie Johnson and some guy named Casey Kane the year before. Jimmy's been on a tear as of late, and he is headed to maybe his also second favorite track in Martinsville. I'd not be surprised if Jimmie gets a win between Sunday and Wednesday. And speaking of Martinsville, while Toyota has not won at Atlanta since 2013, they are the most recent winner at Martinsville, with Martin Truex Jr. picking up a grandfather clock. Ford has favored very well as of late with wins from Brad, Joey, and Clint Boyer at the paperclip. It's hard to ignore, though, the success of Denny Hamlin as well at Martinsville. He's picked up 5 clocks himself. Who picks up the checkers? Who takes home a clock? We'll find out over the next few days, but first it's time for our picks. We'll start with the Truck Series. Nathan, who do you have in the Truck Series?
For this week, I have Johnny Sauter.
Sauter, solid pick. I am going also with Ford. I'm going with Grant Enfinger. Over to the Xfinity Series, sir. Who do you got?
Chase Briscoe.
Briscoe, solid.
He's been on a hot streak lately. Hopefully he keeps it up.
Absolutely. I am going with the 20 of Harrison Burton. Over to the Cup race at Atlanta, Nathan. Who do you got, man?
Well, being a 22 fan, I was pretty salty how last week ended. So hopefully Joey Logano can pick up a win this week.
Excellent. I like that. I'm going with for the win this weekend at Atlanta, and a midweek Wednesday night race at the Paperclip. I'm so excited about that one. Who's your pick for Wednesday night, man?
Yeah, Denny Hamlin.
Hamlin, I am with you as well. We're lined up there, man. Hey, man, I know you got to get back to work. Thanks for taking some time out. Make sure you still email your picks in, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon, man.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. Take care, man. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. I'm sorry it was long, but hey, the orange cone was on and had to get Michael Palmer on. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That is going to do it for episode 185 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Facebook, Twitter, @LapTrafficPC. Subscribe, download, leave some feedback, all that good stuff. Huge thanks to the Orange Cone, Michael Palmer, Aaron Studwell, Nathan Singleton. Thank you to all the listeners on 100,000 downloads. That's so awesome. And just confirmed during the show, next week, we're keeping things going with the MRN theme as of late. Woody Kane is going to make his Lap Traffic debut. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!